Put up the tree this year, and all this electricity is costing me a lot of money, so give me some money on my Patreon account. I'm broke. My video spy cam shows there's a brand new 2024 Mustang GT sitting in a warehouse. I think it's time we went down and got it. So here's what we've got. 6-speed manual transmission instead of the 10-speed automatic. That's going to be interesting. You make a manual transmission, it's going to get less fuel economy than the automatic. 14 to 23. Wow. I've had Dodge Hellcats that did better than that. We'll get the road mileage later on when we do the real road test, so don't go away. I can tell you the price right now, because if we zoom in, it clearly says vehicle not for sale. Gas guzzler tax are not equal because this is a factory prototype car reserved for VIPs or important people like me. Alright, I managed to get a price sheet sent to me, starting at $46,000, but there's always going to be options, we know that. Which is how we ended up to $59,875 plus tax. Alright, $5,000 for GT Performance Package. It gives you a limited slip differential, gives you 6-piston Brembo brakes, beef suspension, beefed up body panels. It's a good package, but is it worth $5,000? Probably not, but might as well get it. On the bottom here you have the MagnaRide suspension. Don't really need it, but might as well get that too. The active exhaust. Yeah, you gotta have that. Gives you like 4 or 5 different exhaust sounds. Super quiet to super loud to wake up all your neighbors in the morning. So we're at the warehouse. Let's open the door, roll this Mustang out, see what it looks like in person. Well, here it is. Interesting blue color. See, we have a new front end, new grille. Lots of kitty cat paws from the neighborhood cats using this as their nightly bed rest. The 5.0 emblem, so everybody knows you got the V8 instead of the little dinky 4-cylinder. And what would a high-performance Mustang be without a rear spoiler on the trunk lid? And they shipped it all the way from Michigan just for me and you. The first thing we do, we get a vehicle, check the brand of tires, because a lot of manufacturers are putting cheap brands on. These are Pirellis, no complaint here. And we look at the trunk and see if there's a spare tire. Of course not. Tire repair kit. A lot of storage under here, but get it flat, you're going to have a problem. Anytime we get a vehicle, we take the headlights out in the dark so they perform and do a night drive. We did that on another video, posted on YouTube. Didn't see that? We'll have a link for that after the end of this video. The base engine in a Ford Mustang is a little 4-cylinder EcoBoost. That's another video. Here we're covering real cars, V8s. 5.0 liter. Comes in 480 horsepower, 486 horsepower. Get the adjustable exhaust like we have here. Or a 500 horsepower version for a lot more money. Yeah, look at those dual air intakes. At least we can see the engine on this one, unlike other vehicles where it's buried under a ton of plastic. Somebody on YouTube complained about this setup, saying if they wanted to install a cold air intake, they have to buy 2 systems instead of 1, but is this not a cold air intake from the factory, or am I missing something here? Leave your comment in the comment section. This car comes with a 10-speed automatic or a 6-speed manual like we have here. Now, which one should you get? Well, it's like this. Back in the old days, if you want performance, you had to get the manual. Automatics were slow and guzzled gas. Today, the opposite is true. The automatics are quicker, get better fuel economy, which means the manuals are slower and guzzle more gas. And if you're getting a vehicle with a turbocharger, a manual transmission is pretty much a waste of money. These type of engines are geared for automatics. The manual transmission versions on turbo engine just slow you down quite a bit. Take note if you're thinking about buying the EcoBoost version of the Mustang. But as always, there are exceptions to every rule. This engine is a high revver, over 7,000 RPM. Torque output climbs to 4,900 RPM, so it's looking for a good manual transmission to operate it. And this gearbox is a slick one. looking for a high RPM engine to be attached to it, so the whole system works pretty good actually. I've driven both the 10-speed automatic cars and the manuals, and I can tell you, yeah, the manual car in this Mustang is a wee bit slower, but you really don't notice the difference. Fuel economy, yeah, 14 to 23 mpg. I've had Hellcats that did better than that, but you lose 1 or 2 mpg over the automatic, but nothing to be concerned about really. There are a few cars out there I would buy with a manual transmission. The Mazda Miata is one, and this is number 2. This is a nice 6-speed setup. If you like shifting manually, you will not be disappointed. Now let's check this out. When I saw this lever, I said, goody, a manual emergency brake. Now this is electronic. Hold up to activate and push down to deactivate. This is optional, by the way. Takes up a lot of room, but it looks cool, so yeah, I could live with this. One thing I like about the older Mustangs, they had knobs and buttons for the climate controls and some for the radio. Now everything is done on this info screen. Sorry about the glare, it's that time of day. Your radio controls, your climate controls. Now why did Ford do this? I'll tell you why they did this, because it saves money. Why spend money on knobs? You can just put everything on the info screen. A common tactic in car makers today. They do this because it's cheap. Just put everything in there, it doesn't cost them anything, but when the screen breaks, it costs you a fortune to fix it. If it does break, you don't have climate control anymore. In extreme weather, it means you can't drive the car. So, plus you have to take your eyes off the road to operate this. It's not a good system, not for climate control radio. Other stuff, fine, but not for radio and climate controls. But you're just stuck with it. You just have to live with it. Here's what the camera system looks like in the daytime. Pretty nice. One of the nice features of this Mustang, you can choose the gauge cluster you want on the info screen. It's a lot easier to do this at night. In the daytime when you have all the glare reflecting off the screen. Here you have the normal mode for general driving. Looks pretty good. The sport mode, a little bit too Star Trek-y for me. And the track mode. This is great for racing around corners and really lights up the car at night. One of my favorites. And the calm, where you don't show too much, but this is great for long highway trips where you don't have everything blaring in your face. So take your pick. It's all there on the screen to pick from. Here we go with the glare again. You can't adjust the exhaust sound on this particular car with that option we showed you on the price sheet. It has a track mode that you're not supposed to use on the street. I wouldn't do that, would I? Let's take some speed humps around 15 miles per hour as you do in all our vehicles. There's bump number 1. Very smooth, a bit of hopping from the rear, but nothing unusual. Bump number 2. Again, pretty smooth. I have the suspension set in sport, by the way, with the magnetized suspension, not soft. Number 3. And the big nasty one. Pretty impressive. Okay, mixed commuting, 16 miles to the gallon. Okay, let's reset it into a highway trip. There we go. Just for the record, at 75 miles per hour, we're pulling around 2200 RPM in 6th gear. For those interested in such things. I was getting 23 mpg on level pavement, but a bit of ups and downs and dropped to 22.3. Pretty close to what was claimed. I think 23 was the EPA claim, so we're pretty close. Don't think it's going to get any better than that. I just filled the tank again, and the computer says 257 miles to empty. And I also think the computer's figuring a lot of highway mileage on that. You be sure driving the city, it's going to drop a lot less. 14 miles to the gallon versus how many gallons? I'm sure if I put the magnetized suspension in comfort, I'd do better on the speed humps, but when you're running about 500 horsepower, just under, I like a stiffer suspension for better control. It was comfortable enough for me, so I really don't need comfort mode. Unless I'm just poking along in the city. We're not going to be doing that on the highway. This is a very smooth vehicle for highway trips. Quiet, comfortable, very impressive. We're going to take a little road trip. Won't care much about fuel economy on this run. We have to stop and say hi to Freddy the Frog, because if you don't, it's bad luck. Hi, Frog. All right. Now we're good to go. The Mustang's great when going in a straight line, but if you're on curved roads like this, it's even better. And this is where the 6-speed manual transmission comes in. Adds a little bit of fun to the trip. Especially when you're hitting 7,000 RPM. And if you turn up the exhaust to full volume, that makes it even better. They'll hear you coming. Downhill, the 6-piston brakes in the front and the 4-piston on the rear slow this vehicle down in a big hurry. A lot of people will spend 60 grand for a car like this. You never drive on a road like this. They don't know what they're missing. Don't buy a Mustang GT with all these options just to drive to work and back. Well, some people do. Kind of a waste. Take it out and drive it. So what's my take on this Mustang V8 after a week of driving? Well, if you like strong engines and don't care about fuel economy, this might be the vehicle for you. If you like a manual transmission, even more so. And since competitors like the Dodge Challenger have bitten the dust, no longer around, and the Chevy Camaro might soon follow, the Mustang might be your only choice. You want a performance V8 car for less than 100 grand anyway. If you go European or Japanese, that's about what it's going to cost you. So in that respect, this car might be considered a bargain. Now, if you want to see the headlight test and night drive we did, here's a link coming up. You're already here, you might as well watch.